Greetings from Mahalik Outdoors. What a beautiful evening to shoot my bow. I've had a number of requests to talk about my archery gear, my approach, and just in general how I do things with my setup. So I just want to preface it first by saying archery is not just a once in a while kind of thing. It's an everyday mindset. It is something that never leaves you. Uh, from a very early age, walking into elementary school every day, on the left hand side was a picture of John Williams. He was an Olympic archer from Cranesville. There's actually a street named after him, John Williams Avenue. And every day you would walk into elementary school and there was a picture of him with his hand wrapped around his group of arrows. 1972 gold medal archer. From my uncles and my dad, all shooting recurves in the 1960s. It's just the way it was. I oftentimes hear people on a podcast say something about the industry. I didn't know there was an industry. It's just the way we grew up. And to the point where we had a family archery tournament for years. And we made trophies and got the family together. And then after a while, we actually did a family trap shoot on the following day. And that was pretty cool. So when you start talking about archery, it's the way of life. It's a mindset. And once you have it, it's in you, and that's it. It's just that simple. So I grew up shooting a recurve for years and years and years, all the way to the mid '90s, and eventually I picked up a compound for the accuracy part. And I'm not a bad shot with a recurve, but when you take it into the woods, it offers another level of challenge. And I have picked it up here again as of late. I have harvested a few deer here in the last few years with it. But I always play with arrows, and I have found a set of arrows that are even more accurate than what I was before. In another video, I'd like to talk about how archery has kind of changed in my world in the last, probably about 30 years. For those of you that have been around a while, you'll know overdraws were popular. 2219s and 2413s, all aluminum Easton arrows that was the way. And then the carbons kind of came in, and I remember thinking, well, how are you going to find your arrow when you miss? Right? How do you find your arrow when you miss a target? We always had a metal detector. You drag your arrow through the grass and hear a tink, and so you'd pick your arrow out. So there's a lot to be said about archery and how it's changed, but it's all just part of the game. So this is my compound bow. This is it's 10 years old. It's a Mathews Halon, and I went from shooting a switchback, and about every 10 years I upgrade. I'm not ready to upgrade yet. I don't know if this bow has lost its whatever to be successful. I think it's as much me, and once you're one with that piece, it's hard to let it go. I do some things specific to mine that are maybe against the whatever, but it doesn't make a difference. You just need to find what works for you and what makes you the most lethal and the most confident in your setup. And that's what I do. And I remember when I purchased this, I went for one of your goals with archery, obviously, is the quietest shot you can have. You want it silent as silent can be. And so what I did was, maybe it really wasn't necessary, but to me it was. There's something called bow jacks. I put them on the limbs. They actually fit on the limbs. It has to be quiet. That is your clothing, your bow, everything is quiet as quiet can be. I'll walk through a store and I'll just kind of feel the fabric and say, if it has any scratch to it, it doesn't count. I did keep the lighter harmonic dampener up top. And for what it's worth, maybe it's sad to see Mathews go away from these. This one is a brass. I have the tungsten models too. But with this extra weight down here on my left, that keeps your bow, and I don't usually shoot with a quiver on. I take the quiver off, hang it, because this is how I practice in the woods. Is I practice the way I hunt. So if my quiver is on, my quiver. But when I get up in the tree stand, I usually tuck my quiver in my backpack, and but I shoot at 40 yards. There are two targets. I have one at 30, one at 40, and you'll see my slider. I shoot a single pin, and more Bojacks, obviously everywhere. Bojacks, as quiet as I can get it. It's an aluminum stabilizer. That to me is about perfect for this. So, but I do shoot a single pin, and I shoot a single pin for one reason. It's one less thing I have to make a mistake on when the moment of truth arrives. I don't want to be thinking about picking pins. Which pin is it? I'll slide it. And typically what I do when I get in the tree stand, I'll set that pin at 17 yards. And if I set it at 17, I can shoot out to about 28. And right here on my I have a piece of tape, and I write everything down because it's a great revisit. So with a 340 spined arrow at 225 grains, I have about 5 to 7 inches of drop at an additional 10 yards. And if you've shot at a deer before, one that's kind of alert, it will hit its belly on the ground by the time that arrow gets there. So I don't have a problem with, a 17-yard pin at a 27-yard shot, because I know if I hold even middle of the deer, by the time that arrow gets there, it's going to hit low. So, or hopefully it'll hit still low or center of the lungs. So it's easy. I think the shorter shots are oftentimes more difficult than the longer shots. Right? It's the ones that are up close. You practice for 30 and 25 and 40, and then it's 8 yards and it's 6 yards and it's straight down and it's 12 yards. So I keep a 17-yard pin, and my mantra when I'm in the stand is move your pin, move your pin, move your pin. And what that does is it keeps me from staring at rack, right? Pick a spot, move your pin, pick a spot. So, but to make sure my bow hasn't changed and to make sure I'm on, I shoot at 40 yards. And all my arrows have been refletched, and so they're ready to go. And I have yet to practice tonight. I'm going to pick it up and shoot it just like I would in the woods. So a couple other little trinkety things, just for what it's worth. Single pin slider sight. And what I've done is I have taken electrical tape and wrapped it around the sight housing. And what that does is when I pull my bow back and I look through my peep, there is just a sliver of light around the outside of it. And you will see on this particular site, there's a bubble level. When we get closer to the season, I'll put a piece of tape over it. When I shoot here in the garage, when I shoot at 40, just to fling an arrow, but to make sure I'm accurate, make sure my peep hasn't moved, make sure. So if something does change, typically, right, it's going to be a couple of things. I don't see a lot of stretch in bowstrings, and not to say that it doesn't, but I see issues maybe with a peep sliding. I see issues maybe with a knocking point just getting a little funny, or the felt on your launcher arm. Here about a week ago, I shot and I was consistently shooting low, a little bit at 40 yards, about 2 inches. And I'm like, well, so pull my bow back, look through my peep, and I'm like, everything is in line. And when I pull this back and I shoot, you'll see how I anchor, which comes from my recurve days. But if I shoot low consistently and I put a new piece of fleece on there, it's just moleskin, sticky moleskin. It will actually bring that up at 40 yards about 2 inches. It's unreal what a new piece of moleskin will do. So, and obviously when you draw your bow back, you don't want to, you want it as silent can be. I'm also kind of from the old school where I run an actual brass knock. That's just what I do. I like that because now I can slide my D-loop up and down the string, and I will actually use dental floss on the bottom. And that way it's not too tight. It's got some wax to it. I think it's a bit more forgiving. But again, remember, you got to find what works for you. This is what I do. And if anything I say can help you, great. If not, then move on to the next archery video. It's just the way it works. So this is my whitetail setup. That's what I hunt. That's what I'm doing. So this peep sight is a little larger. I couldn't tell you. I've drilled it out. I actually took a drill bit, drilled it a little bit, but that gives me that little extra piece of tape here gives me what I'm looking for with a ring. And that is incredibly important to being accurate, especially when you're shooting at targets. So I have 3 arrows. And I like to shoot. Now these are all super close. They're not perfect in weight, but they're super close. One is just a practice broadhead with Schwacker. A sharpshooter from Wasp. So you'll see there's differences. That one has a half out. And this one has a collar with an aluminum insert. That's a 200 grain. And then when I was cleaning and kind of fiddling and I had the bench completely cleaned, the snuffer from my dad's archery tackle box. So with a stainless steel insert and a collar, the lightest of the bunch, believe it or not. But you know, I love to have something that commemorates the hunt, something that says that was cool. And in one of my videos, I talked about fletching, just fletching arrows. I like a fixed blade in tight conditions. I like where if I know I'm within 20 yards and I'm going to either, I'm punching it. I'm punching either down through the top, trying to drive it out the bottom, aiming for the heart. I like a fixed blade broadhead. If I'm in a food plot where my distance is maybe a bit more than what I care for, everybody's got an opinion, and that's the greatest thing about this. But this is a 3-inch Schwacker. I have harvested a number of deer with this, and in my one video, and I hear everybody's got an opinion, and that's great, right? I want to see that deer drop. Work it backwards. I want that deer to run 20 yards and fall. I don't want it to leave my food plot. And they're basically, when you hit them, if you hit them in the lungs with this, it's a dead deer running. You're going to watch it drop within sight. The one buck that's hanging on the wall that I shot back in 23, 24, 25, 26, 23. It was at 16 yards, hit it kind of in the heart. It didn't make it out of the food plot. I hit a doe in January here a few years back, blood sprayed both sides. They're effective. Now, if you hit it in the rear end, it is what it is, right? You've got to make a lethal shot. As far as broadheads and broadhead size, if I'm going to shoot a fixed blade, I want the biggest broadhead I can get to fly accurately. That's what I want. I've shot them with small broadheads and they just run too far for my liking. They just run too far. So it does the job, but they just run too far. So I want to shoot, and then I'll walk it down. We'll look at the guy here, Mr. B. We'll look at the impact. So I have not shot yet, and I like to do it this way because this is oftentimes, you get home from work or you head to the woods. That's all there is to it. That's it. You're moving. So I do not run a cock vane. All 3 are the same. It's easier to fletch them. There is a little nub right here that I go off of, and that's what I use to orient my arrows. One thing you'll notice is that when I pull back, I don't use like a kisser button. I use the vanes itself. So when you shoot a recurve, you're putting fingers to the corner of your mouth. And so when I transitioned over to a compound bow, I had to keep some things similar. So for better, for worse, right or wrong, this is just how I do it, right? You just got to find the way that works for you. I'm lethal this way. I'm comfortable this way. I'm confident this way. And I have a consistent anchor point every time I do this. And I watch a number of different archers on YouTube, obviously, just like a lot of people do. And they talk about you don't want facial pressure. Well, I like facial pressure. I want my hand kind of buried in my face so that I'm like a shooting machine. I want to be as rigid and as stable as I can make it. I don't want any variation. I want rigid. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but to me, in my eyes, this is how I feel most comfortable. And that's it. And I don't shoot a lot of weight. I'm probably just under 60 pounds somewhere, and I could probably pull way more. But if it's January and you're bundled up and you've got layers on, you got to pull it back. Now you will see on my limbs right here, you'll see that there's a 3/4. So when I shoot techno hunt, I back them out. I back them out 3/4 of a turn. And then once I start coming back closer to archery season, then I'll crank them back in. But I found that 60 pounds is plenty. I'm not going out west. I've read articles and tried those particular setups on whitetails here. I've tried a 400 spine arrow with like 75 and 100 grain tips. I wouldn't go that way for whitetails. I would not where we live and what we're pursuing. Just, you are better off shooting middle of the road weights. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff on everywhere right now about that. And if you go back to the days of shooting aluminum arrows, they were all kind of heavy, right? That's why there were overdraws and people trying to get up. You're just trying to get a flatter trajectory. It's just the way it was. So I don't get all caught up in that anymore. I like an arrow in the mid fives, low to mid fives. That works, 500 grains. I have arrows in there that are heavier. I have arrows that are lighter. They're good for small game or woodchucks in a field or something, but this is just where I'm at. They're all super close. And that way, if I want to shoot a fixed blade, I shoot a fixed blade. If I want to shoot an expandable, I shoot an expandable. I take both to the woods. That's my mindset. I just feel there's a time and a place. So let me pull back. My mantra is move your pin. Pick a spot, move your pin. And I try to do it the same all the time. But I will look at the bubble, and what I have is a target at 40 with 3 pieces of orange tape. And that way I'm not punching them in the center because I shoot broadheads. I don't shoot field points other than a Schwacker. I don't shoot field points. So that's it. Just because I remember years and years and years ago, you'd put your broadheads on and it changes you. It changes. You're like, oh, I got a broadhead on. And now you got to be super careful. And I remember walking through the woods with my dad and one of my childhood friends, Jeff, and we had, my dad would carry everything except the kitchen sink into the woods. And Jeff nicked his finger with his broadhead, and he's bleeding, and my dad's like, hold on, I'll get the medicine kit out. So Dad got the Band-Aids, and it just kind of changes you. So always make sure your pin is where you want it. Now, if you watch, I'm going to anchor with the vein in the corner of my mouth, and it's probably different than most people anchor. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference. It's what I do. And so I anchor with the vein in the corner of my mouth. And I look at the bubble and I get it level. And I am watching, and I'm talking while I'm doing this, but I'm looking around the ring. And by the looks of it, I'm about an inch low. It's all right. It's 40 yards, bare shot, right? There was no warm-ups. I can feel my elbow today. This is getting old stuff. If it's not your shoulder, it's your elbow. So this one is the snuffer. I'm going to aim for the middle tape. That one's definitely high. But the first shot counts, right? The first shot counts. And the snuffers, I've shot them, and they seem to be okay. That was probably more of a me than anything. It wasn't bad. So I got a bow hanger right there. So remember, pull this out. I'm not an Olympic archer. I said there was an Olympic archer in our school. I shoot a lot, and I don't expect to be perfect. I don't. I expect to be consistent, and I'm allowed to make mistakes, and I don't beat myself up over them. And that's it. That's just you shoot. You shoot to have fun. So the first and the last were good shots. The middle one, not so much, but it is a 40-yard shot. It would have been nicer, seeing as how I'm on video, to make a better shot, but there it is. That's 40 yards. All right, there's the first shot right here. There's the first shot. That is about a finger low. That's not bad. That one, oh, don't look at that one. I pulled that one. And that one's not bad. That's about 2 fingers low, right? So find what works for you. That's it. Just find what works for you. And we're in the world of deer flies right now. They're horrible this year. It's because there's water, right? They are benthic macroinvertebrates. They live in water somewhere, creeks, ponds. But that's, it is what it is, right? Your first shot is the one that counts. Now, maybe a good videographer would have come out and warmed up first, and that's it, right? That's it. And boy, that first shot, I could feel my elbow on that one. So, but find what works for you, right? I have another deer right here at 30. I have a platform that I shoot off of. I shoot off the platform a bunch, right? And everything is, I have point blank shots, like where I shoot straight down. That's at 17 yards from the tripod. So find what works for you. That's the most important thing. Don't shoot super heavy weight if you don't have to. Don't. You don't need it. Your archery is a game of closeness. How close can you interact with that whitetail? And that comes from my recurve days. Right? It is what it is. It's just, and you have to be patient with that. You have to take a quartering away or a broadside shot. It's a shame, I think, in a way, that there are videos online showing guys shooting deer, facing them. I get it. I really do. I understand that. And maybe that's, I don't know. I was not raised that way, nor do I want to go to bed that night saying, why did I take that shot? Right? Work it backwards. What's your end result? Well, you want to harvest the deer ethically, and you want it to be a swift and humane ending for that. You're taking a deer's life. So, now's a great time to shoot. Get your bow, get your arrows, get your targets set up. I'll shoot a couple more shots now that the pressure's off, and get my recurve out tonight. And yeah, this is the fun part. This is when that's when it gets fun. The countdown is on, right? The countdown is on. So if I can help you in any way, shape, or form, whether it's food plots or hunting in general, I do consultation work if somebody needs something, just to walk and talk, or if you need help with your bow. I am not an Olympic archer, but you know what? I work on all my own stuff. That's what I do. Change my strings and do all that stuff. So, well, words of wisdom: shoot your bow, find what works for you, and if I can help you in any way, shape, or form, reach out. It's just that simple. And start sending some wood, as Fred Bear would say, send some wood downrange. It's coming. If you need something, reach out. Kevin, Mahalik Outdoors.